This is a new day in the PA Woods Vivarium. New renovations, new cameras, new ways to tell an old, ongoing story. As 2025 closed and 2026 began, the temperatures inside this enclosure dropped to some of the coldest we've ever recorded here. And while the world outside marked a new year, life inside this vivarium stayed faithful. It stayed faithful to its rhythms, enduring, adapting, and waiting for what comes next. These upgrades aren't about making things flashier. They're about seeing more clearly, filming closely, listening longer, and giving the animals that live here the space to tell their story the right way. This moment sets the tone for the rest of Season 2, a season focused on persistence, through cold, through change, through the quiet days that don't look dramatic but matter the most. This is the Woods Uncut, and this is where the next chapter begins. This is Baldwin. 2 years ago, Baldwin's future was uncertain. A major surgery changed everything, not just how he moved, but whether he would ever thrive again. Persistence doesn't look dramatic in moments like this. It looks like recovery. It looks like patience. It looks like continuing on even when the outcome isn't guaranteed. Baldwin isn't the fastest. He isn't the most dominant, but he's still here. In the wild, American toads survive not because they are the strongest amphibians, but because they endure cold. They endure drought, scarcity, and injury better than most. Baldwin represents that truth. He doesn't challenge every conflict. He yields when he must. And sometimes persistence means knowing when not to fight. He's been here through the transitions, the quiet months, the changes to this enclosure, the days when the temperatures dropped and movement slowed the most, to almost nothing. He didn't perform for the camera. He didn't rush. He just kept being a toad. Baldwin represents something we don't talk about enough in wildlife storytelling. Survival isn't always dramatic. Sometimes it's staying alive. Sometimes it's waiting out the cold. Sometimes it's trusting the environment to change before you do. And out in the woods, beyond this vivarium, wild toads are doing the exact same thing, buried beneath leaves and soil, riding out the winter unseen, uncelebrated, but essential. And when spring comes, they'll emerge like they always do, because persistence works. Baldwin's story isn't separate from theirs. He's a reminder of what's happening all around us, even when we're not looking. Junia was never supposed to be here. She was the toad nobody wanted, passed over by every organization, left without a place when a herpetology program ended. Taking her in, at the time, was a reluctant decision, and like Baldwin, it became one of the best decisions we ever made. Junia spent years in isolation, guaranteed 5, but maybe 10. No competition, no ecosystem, no rivals, just a 10-gallon tank. Yet when she arrived here, she didn't just survive, she thrived. Female American toads in the wild often grow larger than males. They consume more insects, they live longer, and they dominate feeding opportunities. Junia embodies persistence through adaptation. She learned this environment quickly. She became the most visible toad in the enclosure, the most aggressive feeder, the constant presence. She bullies Baldwin, she challenges Ananias, and she never stops pressing forward. Persistence doesn't always look gentle. Sometimes it looks relentless. We're officially announcing Junia as one of the cover animals representing Woods and Forests media for Frog Week 2026. This is our highlighted conservation project that's going on year 8, and it's a true honor for Junia to be one of the animals to represent us for Woods and Forests Media. But there's even more to her than meets the eye. Her name comes from a biblical story, one that's often overlooked or debated, but rooted deeply in persistence. Junia was known not for spectacle, but for faithfulness, for continuing forward even when recognition was uncertain or delayed. That story matters here, because wildlife doesn't persist for applause. Frogs don't survive because they're celebrated. They survive because they adapt, because they endure change, and because they remain faithful to the rhythms that have sustained them long before we ever noticed them. Junia represents that truth through environmental shifts, seasonal extremes, and the quiet stretches where nothing seems to happen. She remains. As we move into Frog Week 2026, Junia stands as a reminder that persistence isn't about being seen, it's about continuing on even when the world isn't paying attention. And then there's Ananias II. He doesn't rush. He doesn't posture. He waits. He's strategic. In a world driven by movement and noise, Ananias survives through restraint. Last year, when temperatures dropped, he disappeared into the soil, resting when the season demanded it. Junia stayed active. Baldwin slowed down, and Ananias waited. Persistence is not consistent motion. Persistence is knowing when to act. Ananias embodies what persistence means: being calculated, being strategic, not being easily moved, but being methodical, not being intimidated by the current situations of our circumstances. Simply put another way, Ananias II does not get exhausted by the journey. Whenever he finds himself in the Colosseum of defining life moments, he's willing and ready to act. As we get another chance to see him in a three-way battle with all three American toads appearing on the screen for one of only a handful of times in this story. In the wild, competition is unavoidable. American toads are opportunistic feeders. They eat nearly anything that moves, like insects, worms, arthropods, and even other small invertebrates. The ones who eat first survive longer. The ones who hesitate go hungry. Here, the same rules apply. Junia charges forward. Baldwin pulls back, and Ananias holds steady. This isn't chaos, it's hierarchy. Persistence isn't about winning every moment, it's about staying present long enough for the moment that matters. As Junia attempts to push Baldwin aside, she believes that she's won. Junia sees this as an opportunity. She committed early. There's no hesitation. Every earthworm is an opportunity, and she takes advantage while she can. Baldwin approaches this differently. He's aware of her position, aware of the competition. There's no challenge, no confrontation, just calculation. When space closes, he waits. When an opening appears, he moves. And then there's Ananias II. He doesn't rush at all. While the others focus on speed and presence, he studies the battlefield. He watches failed strikes. He waits for the earthworms that drift just far enough away to become unclaimed. His timing is deliberate, efficient, and patient. This isn't chaos, it's strategy. 3 animals, 1 resource, 3 different approaches, shaped by instinct, experience, and persistence. Junia presses her advantage, unwilling to share, pushing forward while the moment is hers. Baldwin adapts, taking what he can without wasting energy. And Ananias survives by patience, turning restraint into success. In the wild, These moments decide who eats and who waits. There are no referees here, no fairness, only opportunity and response. What looks like a simple feeding scene is actually a lesson in endurance. Persistence doesn't always look the same. Sometimes it's aggression, sometimes it's adaptability, and sometimes it's knowing exactly when not to move at all. In this vivarium, in the woods beyond it, survival belongs to those who keep going, one decision at a time. I bet you didn't think you would see 3 different feeding styles from 3 different American toads. Perhaps these animals aren't mindless and arbitrary after all. Maybe there's a little bit more going on upstairs than we might know. Up close, Ananias reveals details that are easy to miss from a distance. His darker coloration absorbs light differently. His pupils stand out more clearly. He's always alert. These aren't just visual traits, they may shape how he moves through the world. In the wild, being darker can be an advantage. It can also be a risk. Contrast makes you visible. Open space offers no cover, and for an animal this small, being seen can mean being taken. It's possible that this is why Ananias is so careful in the open. Why he waits longer, why he chooses his moments instead of rushing forward. Caution isn't always hesitation. It's strategy, shaped by vulnerability. Through the macro lens, patience becomes physical. You can see it in the way he holds still, in how his body seems prepared, but not tense. Ready without being reckless. We can't ask him why he waits. We can only observe the patterns, but behavior leaves clues, and those clues suggest a life lived with awareness, of light, of exposure, of risk. Persistence doesn't always mean pushing forward. Sometimes it means knowing when to stay hidden, knowing when the safest moment it is to move. Ananias II survives not by dominating the space, but by respecting it. This is the kind of story that only reveals itself when we slow down enough to look closely. Watching him, it's hard not to think of a male lion in the savannah, majestic, deliberate, and moving with purpose. Every decision seems intentional. Every pause is measured. There's a rhythm to that. It commands the attention even when the world around him is quiet. Like a lion, he isn't rushing. He doesn't need to. The confidence is his stillness. The awareness in his gaze invites us to marvel as observers. His care in the open is not weakness, it's majesty, it's mastery. Patience becomes presence, vulnerability becomes strategy, and persistence, whether waiting for the perfect moment to strike or remaining visible without reckless exposure, is what carries him through. Through this macro lens, we see not just an amphibian, but a story of endurance, awareness, and quiet majesty. We are reminded that persistence doesn't always roar. Sometimes it moves slowly, deliberately, like a shadow across the forest floor. This is The Woods Uncut, and this is Ananias II. As Season 2 continues, we'll keep watching, marveling, and learning from the creatures who move with both caution and purpose. Please consider liking and subscribing, and sharing with your friends for more content. Thanks.